What's up, everyone? In today's video, we are going to go through all things IBS related. This one is near and dear to my heart because this is probably the main issue that led me to where I'm at today. God, this thing was a nuisance and I just could not ever really get traction in healing it. Highly, highly annoying, highly painful. Thankfully, I haven't had a symptom of this in many years. So we'll go through kind of the big picture overview of this and give you some very useful, very important insight as to what actually causes it and what you can do to start to turn it around. If you are already a subscriber to my channel, welcome back. If you're new to me, my name is Dr. James Null. I'm a chiropractor who quit doing functional medicine many years ago because I realized it doesn't actually work. In 2016, I found medical medium protocols. I've never looked back. It is the best of the best when you're trying to heal any mystery chronic health issue. I do have a coaching service where I coach other clients how to get great life-changing results using medical medium protocols. But I understand not everyone's willing or able to do that. So I want to put out some free content here and give you a place to just kind of check things out. All right, so let's get into it. So symptoms of IBS. If you're watching this, you probably have IBS and you probably already know what I'm going to say here. So no real mystery. Abdominal pain. You can have bloating, constipation, diarrhea, unable to completely evacuate your bowels. You can have itchy rectum. You can have one of these. You could have all of these. You could have any combination of these. IBS kind of looks different person to person. So there's no like one set of criteria here, which also really pisses everyone off when they get that diagnosis because, you know, even to someone who's new to health issues, it feels like a junk label, right? It's like, oh, I told him my bowels are irritated and I walked out of there and he told me my bowels are irritated. It's like, great. What good did that do anyone? Like, not at all. But here we are. So let's get into the reasons why. So if you're going with traditional or even functional approach here to IBS, they're going to blame things like your microbiome, like what's happening inside your gut, which is a little truth to that. But I mean, they're just naming a part of your body and kind of passing the blame off to that. Like, no. Stress, which stress definitely can play a role, especially in gut issues. We'll get more into that in a bit. But there's also something physically that has to be taking place inside the gut in order for stress to be that trigger that kind of lights that fuse. Genetics. This is dumb. Nobody's genes were designed to give them any health conditions. Stop believing that. Stop listening to people who try to convince you there's 1 ounce of truth to that. Food sensitivities. Foods are not the problems themselves. So this is interesting because 3 out of the 4 I just listed here, they're kind of like getting close to some truth, getting close there, but there's not enough specificity there for anyone to really make any progress, any ground in their healing. You have to understand it on a deeper level. So what's really happening when someone has IBS? Well, they have pathogens in their gut. Most of the time, it's going to be a harmful bacteria, like a strain of strep bacteria. Could be C. diff, could be H. pylori, could be E. coli, or you could have viruses in there, Epstein-Barr, shingles, things like that. All very common for anyone, unfortunately, to be dealing with a chronic stealth infection like this at any point in time. And those bad bacteria, those pathogens in the gut, they cause havoc when they have the right environment for them to be active and to cause all this irritation and inflammation in the gut. It's not what we want. So we have to talk a little bit about how it's possible for these bugs to get set up in someone's gut in the first place. And that all starts with poor digestion. More specifically, you have to have weak hydrochloric acid in your stomach for it to get to this point where the pathogens are able to be active in your gut. Hydrochloric acid, one of its main functions is to kill off pathogens in the gut. That's what it should be doing. But after decades and decades of high-fat diets, exposure to toxins, and then pathogens in other parts of the body and stress hormones and on and on and on, it can't keep up. it gets weaker and weaker over time until eventually it crosses that threshold to where now these pathogens actually can set up shop in your gut. They can become active, and God, they make life miserable. So that's what we're dealing with. That's physically what's happening. Now, if somebody didn't have these pathogens in their gut and they go through stress, because everyone goes through stress, right? There's just nothing to light a fuse to here. But when you have these active and you go through a stressful event that lowers your immune system every time, then yeah, these can become more active and that can flare up. But do you see the disconnect there? Like, yes, stress can definitely be involved in a flare up, but it's not the root cause. It's just triggering the actual root cause. A very important distinction there. Same thing, I had to go back because I knew there was something else I wanted to talk about here. Same thing with food sensitivities. Wheat and dairy are the two most common ones that people have pieced together like, hey, I don't feel good if I eat wheat or dairy. And actually, I feel better if I avoid wheat and dairy. It's not actually the wheat or the dairy itself, because humans have eaten those two things for many, many years. It's only in the last recent several decades that where people have noticed that this is becoming an issue. Here's why it's an issue. It's an issue because these pathogens, I don't know if you know this, but there's some people who kind of play with pathogens. And some of the things they do is they grow them or they feed them on different foods, two of which are dairy and gluten. Eggs is another huge one. And so when you eat these foods and you have these certain harmful pathogens, you're giving them fuel. They're going to become more active. That's going to spur on more inflammation. Inflammation does not just exist for no reason. There's always a pathogen behind it, right? So I'm sensitive to dairy, I'm sensitive to gluten. Well, I see what you're saying there for sure, but it's that those foods are feeding these pathogens. That's what's actually happening. All right, so if you go through the typical treatment protocol for traditional or functional approaches to IBS, here's what you're going to get. Like, hey, just be less stressed. Hey, your stomach feels terrible. Have you tried just never getting stressed again? Like, oh, what a revelation. Silliness, all right? Medications, right? Want to cover up those symptoms so you don't have to feel the results of those nasty pathogens in your gut. Let's just numb you out so you don't have to deal with it. It's a good long-term solution. Not for me. Let's have you do the low FODMAP diet. Oh my God, I drove myself nuts trying to make this thing work. This is one of the dumber diets out there. Terrible. Doesn't do anything. Or probiotics. Oh, you're on the floor in gut-wrenching pain every week? Well, here, take this little capsule. Don't change anything else, but just take this little capsule and maybe that'll fix all your problems. No, here's another misconception when it comes to gut health. Even if these probiotics were making it to where they needed to be, and even if these were like the most beneficial microorganisms to have in your gut, they do not do anything to kill off the harmful pathogens. This is a pinnacle. This is a calling card of medical medium information. You could have the best bacteria in your gut. They do not do anything to kill off the harmful bacteria. So it's like, all right, cool. Now you have more good bacteria. It did nothing to the bad bacteria. So you are still going to have problems. All right. So what you want to do here, the real way to address IBS is, first of all, you have to lower your fats, because I didn't mention this before, but this is important. When you have weak digestion, that means your fats and your proteins are not dropping into your intestinal tract fully digested. So that means you have undigested fats and proteins that end up rotting away in your intestinal tract. And this can become another fuel source for these harmful pathogens. So while you're healing, especially while you're healing, you need to lower your fats because they're not being broken down and they're just turning into more problems. So the less fats that you can eat, the better off you're going to be. And the other side to that coin is like, hey, okay, Where are we going to get more calories from? Well, let's get more calories from healthy carbohydrates that are loaded up with good antibacterial, great antiviral compounds. What a great trade-off. You can take away something bad, add in something great, and still get the same amount of calories every day. Woohoo! That's a miracle, some would say. I would call that a miracle. There you go. That's what you want to do. So lots of fresh fruit. Papaya is amazing. Pear is amazing. Celery juice. You want to get all these healing foods in there. Leafy greens. Now, if you're coming from a standard American diet or a high-fat diet, it can feel rough. You can go through some cleansing times for sure, but you'll get through it. That's the switch that needs to happen. Then you want to focus on strengthening your digestion. And the way that you do that is learning how to do some deeper cleanses for your liver. Give your liver more of a break. Bringing in things like daily celery juice, which is the most powerful way to strengthen your good acid, your good digestive acid, hydrochloric acid. That is vital. And eating all these fresh fruits and vegetables, B12 is a critical supplement for this. Licorice root is great for this. It's amazing. That's how you actually start to turn this around and make headway. Now, the outlook for IBS can be pretty quick. If you start to make the right changes, sometimes you can get some pretty quick wins, even if it's been there for quite a while. Other cases are going to take longer, obviously, but you don't know until you get started and start doing what you need to, and then see how many protocols you need to do, how long you need to do them for. But that is the formula. You can work your way out of this mystery hellhole that is IBS. It sucks. It's no fun. Life is so much better when you don't have to worry about the next time you're going to be taken out by some gnarly abdominal pain. So, all right. Hope that helps. That's all for today.